לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, נריה לצור אישנו, גרמה פניו בתודה.
Remember?
Right.
Hanukkah parties.
All right. I'd like to talk about the cantor for a second.
You want a bite?
Oh, wow.
You want
So-
a nibble?
First of all, thank you for Rabbi Burstein for sponsoring, and Mark Harrison. Thank you very much. We're here today to do this. We learned Le'iloi Nishmas, the Cantor, Cantor Rozen. This is in his honor and his memory. So I'd like to just share some memories about him with everybody, if possible. Then Alan will say a few words. So in this week's parsha, we have the death of Nadav and Avihu, who went and brought an offering that they weren't supposed to bring. So there's a difference of opinions of what their sin was. So Rabbi Eliezer says in Eruvin Samach Gimel Amud Aleph that Lo Mesu Bnei Aaron Ad Shehoru Halacha B'fnei Moshe, that their sin was that they paskined, they decided Jewish law in front of their teacher. That is something which was an egregious sin that they deserved to die for. So it seems that the reason the sin was so bad was not just because they disrespected a greater Torah scholar and a greater person, an elder person, but rather because it was their Rebbe. They disrespected the Rebbe, the teacher-student relationship. The teacher-student relationship is something which is integral to Judaism. You can't be a good Jew by just reading books. You know, you would never go to a brain surgeon from somebody who just studied books on how to do brain surgery. You need someone how to practice brain surgery and have a teacher. In Judaism, all the more so, you need to have a teacher that teaches you how to be a good Jew. I think Reb Chaim Soloveitchik said that someone asked him, we have so many svarim, so why do you need a Rebbe? So he says, having a Rebbe isn't only telling you what to say, but also what not to say. And in addition to having a Rebbe, my Rosh Yeshiva said he had when he was a kid, his Rebbe, he was a young man, and his Rebbe was a student of Rav Baruch Ber, who was one of the greatest Torah sages of the past 100 years. So the student of Rav Baruch Ber was a teacher for little kids in Baltimore, like 14-year-old kids, because after the war there weren't so many positions. And he said that he didn't remember a single thing that his Rebbe taught him, but he remembered the way his Rebbe taught him. That always stuck with him, his love of Torah. And something about Cantor Rozen that I think sticks with anyone who knew him, especially as a student of his, was his entire demeanor and the way he taught Torah to all of us. It was very special. In the Cantor, for sure the years that he was in Sons of Israel in the 90s, probably had thousands of students, in addition to all the other places where he served as a chazan. And he taught these kids in a short window where most kids are interested in Judaism, like the 6 months before the bar mitzvah, where they exhibit like a slight interest in Yiddishkeit. Before that they don't care, and for sure after that they don't care. I think there was that famous joke. They said that there's a shul that they had a rat problem. So it's Rabbi Shor. So he said, "Oh, it's no problem." He said, "What I did to get rid of Then he heard there was another rabbi with a rat problem. He said, "Rabbi, how'd you get rid of all the rats in the shul?" He said, "Oh, it was very simple. I took a big block of cheese. I put it on the bima. All the rats came to the cheese. I bar mitzvah them all, and they never came back." So that usually is what happened.
Why?
We'll tell you that. Oh, you see, kids don't even understand it nowadays. It's Baruch Hashem. We've gone up a level. We've gone up a level.
What?
But what's very interesting is that I would once in a while post things about the chazan, about the cantor on like Facebook, social media, and just talk to random people. And there's people that I thought had no connection to Judaism whatsoever, and they would tell me that 20 years ago they had the cantor as their bar bas mitzvah teacher, and he made such an impact on them, and they love him so much. And it's happened numerous times where these people that had no connection to Judaism just had this interaction with the cantor for a few months of their lives when they were kids, and it made such an impression on the rest of their lives. And I was thinking, like, who knows how many kids didn't marry non-Jews because of their positive impression that they had with the cantor, or who knows that 20 years later, 30 years later, because they had this positive interaction with the chazan, that it will lead to greater Torah mitzvah observance, which should definitely teach us that you never know, especially with kids, any interaction you have, the kind of impact that it could have years later. And also, there's a lot of people that told me, the cantor had to teach all kinds of kids, and not necessarily all the kids were up to par in their Hebrew reading and were very good students. And he really worked with them to you have these kids that can barely read Hebrew. They come to Hebrew school twice a week, junior congregation on Saturday, and they have a lot of trouble. And then they're faced with this daunting day where they have to read Hebrew with a tune in front of the entire congregation. It's a very scary thing, especially if you haven't excelled at Hebrew. And he worked with them. And somebody told me who his child was very slow, and that the Chazan, like the patience that he had with him, and the way that he worked with him, gave the kid so much self-esteem, and really impacted his life in a great way. And something that the Chazan told me once was that he says, you know why I call everyone great? Is because some kids don't feel that they're so great. And I want to make them feel good about themselves. That's really why he called everyone great. And I remember, I think the records on this event have been unsealed. I think I'm safe to talk about this. But about 25 years ago, there was a big fight in Sons of Israel. If someone who wasn't a bar mitzvah bacher, someone who wasn't bar mitzvah yet, could say Anim Zmiros. What was the debate about? Because usually the guy getting bar mitzvah, he would say Anim Zmiros. But if he didn't know it, then they would have a kid who was under bar mitzvah say Anim Zmiros. So if a bar mitzvah boy didn't say Anim Zmiros, it made him feel bad, it made him look bad that he doesn't know it. And there's this 12-year-old or 11-year-old singing it. So on one side you had a group that said, well, you should let the 12-year-olds do it because they'll never get a chance. They'll never get a chance to do it otherwise. But on the other side, you had a group, including the Cantor. He says, how can you make a bar mitzvah boy feel bad on the day of his bar mitzvah? And he was very against having any kid, any 11-year-old, say Anim Zmiros if the bar mitzvah boy couldn't do it. And that was just, you had the sensitivity to a little child, a 13-year-old at his bar mitzvah day. Okay, maybe it's a good argument, a good taina that this kid will never get to practice Anim Zmiros. But on the other hand, how could you hurt a kid? How could you hurt a child? You see in life, I think that a lot of people don't care about kids' feelings, but there's a mitzvah of v'ahavta l'orecha kamocha also to children, to love a kid like yourself also. And he used to have us over for Shabbos. It wasn't just teaching us bar mitzvah. He tried to encourage us to do, to be better Jews, to keep Shabbos, to study Torah. And he was like with the kids. He would do impressions from ER, for those who know what that is, and different popular shows, television shows of the 90s. And I remember before my bar mitzvah, he called me up and he said, you're bar mitzvah now, you should start keeping Shabbos. Like, you have some people that do kiruv and they just do like events and, okay, people keep mitzvahs, they don't keep mitzvahs, but he was like on top of you in a nice way. He wanted you to excel in Judaism and to grow, and he's a very special person. There's a lot of...
yeah. To his call.
Eventually, yeah. Eventually. 1 second.
15?
Yeah. So no, there was also he led a tremendous life. There were other things. I mean, I only knew him, later on in his life. I remember actually I visited him once when he had already, he wasn't so lucid anymore and he couldn't really converse with him. But all of a sudden he started laning Parshas Noach, his bar mitzvah parsha, by heart. Just started that he remembered. That was like in his bones, just the laning. And you couldn't have really even a conversation with him because he wasn't all there anymore. But he knew the laning to Parshas Noach by heart. And he always visited sick people. In 1973, when Israel faced the existential threat to their existence, he was living in South Africa. He left South Africa to protect Jews from getting killed by the Arabs in 1973 in the Yom Kippur War. He got shot in the face. And he also, just like random things he did, he had a lot of connections with executives at Pathmark, Aleim Shalom. And he connected a lot of Jewish people with them, so to give opportunities to help Jewish people have a parnasa, to have a livelihood. He just did a tremendous amount of chesed, did a lot to help people, but especially the children. I think that's where most of us in Manalip remember him, especially those of us that were kids at the time, how much he inspired us. I remember he came in, when we were in nursery school, I still remember, he would come in his shmod begadim and sit with the nursery school on those little chairs and have cookies and apple juice. He wasn't like pretentious at all, just with the kids. He loved being with kids, and he recognized how important it is to transmit Torah to the next generation, the importance of that Rebbe-Talmud relationship, the student-teacher relationship. That's the integral for the furthering of Judaism. And I think just us being here tonight and learning, and maybe if we have the ability to teach others, and if we don't have that ability, but to learn from a Rebbe, to find a Rebbe, and if we do that, if we're a little bit inspired from his memory, that'll serve as his chus for his neshama, and he should have an aliyah in Shemayim.
Amen.
Alan, sorry, a few words.
You kept looking at the bottom of the page, and you kept saying more and more.
Just a few quick words. I don't have anything written down prepared, but just a few things about Rabbi, Cantor Rozen. And I really appreciate Dave's perspective as a boy growing up with him. My perspective let me share a few things with you. We just, actually my class on Monday night, we talked about this special bracha that you make when you 600,000 or more Jews. They were such at the Levaya, Rav Chaim. Blessed are you, Hashem, O God, King of the universe, knower of secrets. And it's based, the Midrash says, it's based when on the fact that when Moshe Rabbeinu knew he wasn't going to go into the land of Israel, he asked God. He said, God of all spirits. He used that term. Provide a replacement that's very good. We learn from this there's 600,000 different personalities. I have to tell you that Cantor Rozen was a unique personality. He was a 1 in 600,000. It's a very, very interesting person, a very eclectic person. First of all, just to speak first on, to tag along with what Dave said about the kids, he had a saying he always told kids. He said, give it a go. Give it a try. Give it a go. Give it a go. Come on, give it a go. Give it a go. We see there's a lot of source of this. Even in the Torah, the Ramban on Chumash says, if you want a miracle to perform for you, you got to exert. You got to do a little effort yourself, and then God will help you along the way. We just went through last week we read Megillah Esther a week ago, right? So, how do you save the Jewish people? God didn't need Esther to go to Achashverosh. He didn't need the Jewish people to fast. God can do whatever he wants to do. But that's not the way God runs the world. He wants the people to make the effort, and then he's going to help. You got to do something first. You got to put it in effort first. And that was the message he tried to tell the kids. Give it a go. Try. And, you'll have heavenly assistance. He was also, I would say, very, very good, excellent, at comforting mourners, making the mourners minyanim, speaking there, and people found he was able to touch a number of people that other people really couldn't connect with so well, again, because of the 600,000 different personalities that there are in the world. And he was very, very, very good with that. He had an incredible background. Sometimes he would tell stories hard to believe, and amazingly, they found it to be true. I'll tell you one story. You think it's great. He used to tell everyone he used to be a wrestler. He knew how to wrestle, like one of these wrestlers. So we all thought, yeah, right. So we had one of the members of our shul, Henry Locke. His brother lives in Arizona. He went there for his brother's child's bar mitzvah, and he runs into a guy at the kiddush there. So where are you from? Oh, I'm from New Jersey, Henry. So whereabouts? Manalapan. So he said, do you know Cantor Rozen? So he said, yeah, of course. He's my Cantor. He said, he was a great wrestler. It's a guy halfway, 3,000 miles across the country. It's unbelievable. He said he was with Rabbi Goren on the Six-Day War. He had all kinds of unbelievable stories, blowing the shofar, unbelievable things. But basically, he cared very much about the Jewish people, about every Jew, and especially the Jews who are not connected yet to Hashem the way a Jew is supposed to be connected. He was very good with that. He was very, very good. I mean, there were a lot of people in the shul. I know from a personal experience, I can tell you that he was their contact at the shul. He was their go-to person. They had a kesher with him, and the same thing with the kids. The kids loved him, as David said. So now is his Yahrtzeit. He did a lot of good, and he's getting a lot of reward in Shemayim. And he was instrumental in people like David, you spoke, and others, becoming a Torah observant and everything else. So his neshama shav aliyah.
How many years since he passed away?
I can tell you.